welcome back to Reflecting Redemption YouTube channel. I'm so glad that you're here today for another episode of setting up Homestead and what that looks like for us. So I just wanted to talk about today the setup of our garden. This is our third garden on this property that we're attempting to grow. I will link some videos in the description box for you. I think I have already made one on how poorly our garden went last year and the lessons that I learned from all the failures that we faced in the garden. And I also have some takeaways on how we're gonna try to address it this year. It's the most practical place to lay out all of my little seed babies. And I'm so excited. So you have to start somewhere and you have to keep trying and figuring things out as you go. That's what I've learned so far. Just keep trying. So the first thing I'm going to do with my little seed babies is I'm going to separate them because I ordered from True Leaf Market for the first time. I'd heard a lot of good things. Prices were great. All of these seeds were $50, I think $55 total. I got free shipping. I was actually pretty impressed. I have dropped way more than $50 at Lowe's in the past and not gotten the best quality seeds. So I'll just show you a little bit about True Leaf Market first before I get into separating my seeds out. So essentially it comes with the information on the back. The front of the packages are just the standard. They don't show you like the tomato type and stuff that you're used to seeing at Lowe's or wherever you might see seeds at, like a farm store, something like that. And then on the back, it gives you some really great information. It tells you the percentage germination rate. So for example, these are Blue Lake pole beans, but they have an 83% germination rate, which means 83% of the seeds will go to germination. So that's a good percentage, preferably above 75%, right? It also tells you when it was dated, which was November 2022. So that's really good. And it gives you some basic information about the plant. I'm going to separate these into categories by early spring in-ground planting and early, late winter seed starts. Early spring seed starts, spring in-ground planting, and then like the flowers. So I'm just gonna separate them out. Okay, I've categorized my seeds and I'm just gonna quickly walk you through what the plan is for the garden this year before I draw out my garden plan. So I have first my early spring crops, which my intention is early spring crops to use part of the seeds for early spring, obviously, and part of the seeds for a fall crop to be planted in August. Okay, here is the lineup for early spring and fall into winter. What I've got is tender sweet carrots, and I also got a rainbow carrot. I really like carrots, so we're gonna use part of them now and part of them in late fall, and this is really kind of a home science experiment to see which season does better and how they hold up and things like that. Okay, I have a Long Island Brussels sprout, spinach, giant noble spinach is the type, salad blend or lettuce blend, and broccoli. So those are my attempts. Those are things we actually eat, and that is my plan. It needs to be something we actually eat, I will actually can, and we will actually consume it in the year. I can freeze it, can it, or we can make sure we eat it so that there's not waste. I will also be getting onion bulbs, probably just yellow onion. Don't need yellow and red, just yellow onion bulbs, and then potatoes. So we will get our seed potatoes from a local farm shop and use those. I will probably get 10 to 20 pounds of seed potatoes for our family. Okay, moving on to, so those are all things that either will go in ground or will be started next week. I will start Brussels sprouts, broccoli, things like that in the next week. in my greenhouse inside. The carrots and potatoes, onions, onion bulbs, things like that are going to go directly into the ground. So just depending on what it is, I'll get ready for those seed starts. The next thing that I have is my flowers. Okay, so I picked 2 simple things. I just need to pick up one more pack. I need some zinnias because I love them. They grow so fast and easy. I got a huge pack of sunflowers because I plan on expanding my sunflower patch this year. I've had great success with sunflowers and they are so beautiful. And I have high hopes that these little beauties, these sunspot sunflowers, are going to be gorgeous this summer, in August and early fall, in September, October. So got those, and then I got some calendula. So the plan is calendula, sunflowers, and zinnias, and we'll see where it goes from there. Okay, then these are my directly sown in-ground seeds. So I got some pickling cucumber. I have not yet figured out how to make a good pickle. So these are going to be scantily used, probably 3 or 4 hills of cucumbers, just enough that we can eat on, because Elijah and I love to eat them, but pickling them, I'm not really great at, and I don't want to practice this year. We might do that another year. And then the next thing I have is green beans. I got the Blue Lake pole bean. I love beans. We love to can them. And then the only thing that is hybrid is the ambrosia hybrid corn, because I didn't realize this, but most corn is hybridized, and the corn that is not is going to be with all the colors in it, and it's just not what we're used to eating. So we just went with the typical hybrid corn. Okay, sugar pie pumpkins. I got a huge pack of these, and jack-o'-lantern pumpkins, a smaller pack of those. Growing pumpkins is something that I very much enjoy. Okay, and then these are my start indoors for the summer crops. And I have to tell you, when it comes to plants, everything else is good, but everything can kind of be negotiated. It's not like, oh, it's completely necessary, but there is an unwavering need in my life for great tomato plants. And it's very hard to restrain myself to only buy a few varieties of tomatoes, because I want literally every tomato that's there. I want to grow it. I would plow up our whole front yard and plant tomatoes. My husband would absolutely die, but that is what I would do because they're marvelous. So the first thing I have is cherry tomatoes, and I mean, we go bananas over these from the time they start going all the way into October. They will grow, and just love them so much. So cherry tomatoes. I got vintage wine tomato. It just looked beautiful, and I thought, why not try it? And all of these are heirloom, with the exception of the corn. Everything is heirloom. I got a big rainbow tomato. And so these are really for eating. You can these, but they're not the most ideal. They're going to be super juicy, a little more water content, which is fine. I do still process and can them. I won't waste them, but it's for fun and eating and deliciousness. But then I got super practical Bradley tomatoes. So it just gives some information on how they produce, and they sound a lot like aroma. So we're gonna try them. They're supposed to be a really great canning tomato, and I would love to make lots of sauces. Typically I can juice whole tomatoes, diced tomatoes, pizza sauce, spaghetti sauce, tomato soup. I love all of that sort of thing. I have canned a lot of it, not all of it, but I really am praying that these turn out to be. I did some research on some good canning tomatoes, so we'll see. And then last, I have sweet peppers, just green peppers. I have in the past grown green and red and tried to grow yellow, and then get frustrated when all you really need is a good green pepper. You can freeze them really nicely in different shapes and formats, diced and strips and things like that. So I'm just gonna focus on the green peppers this year, and I'm going to get 2 jalapeno plants. I didn't need a whole pack of seeds. I'm just gonna grab a couple from the store. But anyway, those are all what I'm starting, and the plan is to learn how to save the seeds off of them. But I won't be using the entire pack of seeds if something goes awry, but that's something on the to-do list, things that I want to learn this year. The only other pack of seeds that I have are these Walla Walla onions. They're supposed to be a really great fall crop, but they do not last as long in storage. So what I intend to do is try these out in the fall so they can be like left in the garden to go plant, and then I can bring them into the house and we can kind of eat on them. But I would like to get a hardier onion to plant in the spring that we can dry out, or cure, that we can cure and keep and eat out of. So those onions are hopefully for a fall garden that I'm dreaming about, as well as I have some wheat seeds. I'm not going to the basement to get those to show you because I'm lazy. I don't want to. But I did buy some wheat seeds also off of True Leaf Market, I believe. And they're going to be a good ground cover crop. We'll see if we actually get the wheat berries from them. I was supposed to try them last year, but the horrific situation that was our garden just led me to say, you know what, forget it. Let's just wait till next year. So that's what I did. I put the pause button on, but that's okay. So I'm looking forward to hopefully sowing wheat in the fall, as well as some of these fall crops. Now I need to clarify what our garden situation is. And if you've watched my other video, you'll see some of the cutaways of the fall garden, of the 2022 garden, and sort of the failure that it was. But I actually have 4 gardening spaces. So I have a small patch, which was for the pumpkins, but it kept getting flooded. And the pumpkins just ended up rotting before it was even time for them, and just washing away the seedlings and things. So that was a bad situation. So right now I actually have garlic growing in there, and it's done fairly well because it's drained better. I planted it in the upper part of it, so that's been helpful. So that's one garden space that I have, and I intend to put calendula in it for the next year. So hopefully just a whole patch of calendula, because it's like low stakes, lots of fun to try it out. But that's like my extra patch where I can just like try new things. And then I have a side patch right here at the house, and it's small. I've also got garlic planted in it right now. It's in front of our back porch, which is a very small back porch, but I've got some garlic going, and it's going really well. And then I will use it for herbs. So I plan to work on parsley, dill, basil, cilantro, your typical cast of characters. Probably going to stick them in the herb garden this year. Maybe a little mint. It burnt and died last year. Everything else did great. The mint burnt and died. I've got so much sage from last year that I don't need anymore, so I'm not going to do any sage, but essentially that's what's going to go there. And then I have the big garden, which I'll talk about in just a second. Behind the big garden, there is an accidental garden space. So what happened last year is we've used this space as a burn pile, and I guess we burnt the old plants and stalks and stuff that didn't, break down. We just stuck them in there, they dried out, and we did a burn. And some of the seeds took, and so I have some tomatoes that popped up last year, some really nice tomato plants, and some pumpkins that just started growing. And the ground is actually, there's really not a lot of grass, there's not a lot of turf or anything to deal with there. So that's going to be the pumpkin patch this year. We've got a few things left to burn on it, but it's actually really rich soil where we've burnt things on it, and we've had cardboard and breakdown and stuff. So that's going to be the pumpkin patch. And then the main garden space is, I'll have to put in a cutaway. I can see it out the window. It's actually snowing right now on the garden. It's so pretty. But the main garden space, it's not huge, but it's a good size for us. And that's where all of the other crops will go. So I'm going to revise. I had already made a 2023 garden plan. I'm actually going to sit right here right now and film it as I go and make my gardening plan. And I'm going to draw the little patches. I'm not very good at like drawing things, so you'll have to bear with me on that. But this is essentially my plan. So I'm going to stack up these seeds so I don't get them confused. Then I'm going to draw out my dream and my prayer for the 2023 garden. And I really do pray that the Lord will bless the garden and make it something that I cannot make it, because I don't know. I don't believe in green thumbs. I do believe that there's natural ability. I don't believe that some people just kill everything. I think that skills are learned and honed and things like that. But I do believe in the power of prayer, and I'm praying that God will work in me to help me learn, and then he will work in the soil, in the ground, in the garden to make it good. So anyway, I'm gonna put these away and I'm gonna draw my garden plan. So I have my garden plan drawn out, and I'll just go through it really quickly with you, and then I look forward to the planting times. I'll try to compile all of this and share with you as we've planted it. But here's the goal. The back section of pumpkin patch, as I already spoke about, sunflowers along the fence line, and the small patch of calendula, the herbs, and possibly lettuce on the outside of the house beside the back porch, in front of the back porch rather. And then the main garden, we have everything switched up this year. The back half of the garden gets very wet. We're going to try to ditch it out. We don't know if it will help, but it stands in water in the back corner, so we're gonna avoid that little section. And also I'm moving the corn to the back because I care about it the very least, besides the calendula, so I'm trying to prioritize. And also the big stalks will stand up to it. What I've noticed is the sunflowers do fantastic back there despite the moisture. So I'm thinking that corn will do really well back there as well, despite the moisture, because it gets a really nice thick stalk. It has something good to stand on, and it has more ability to absorb that moisture. So that's just my guess. In the past, the carrots and onions went back there, rotted in the ground last year. Really, really bad. So we're gonna switch it to corn. 2 rows of corn in the back, followed by 2 rows of green beans. And then we have 3 rows of tomatoes in that super safe zone of the garden. It is out of the moisture barrier range. It is fertile ground. It's good ground. I want to protect the tomatoes. Hopefully that'll work out. Then we have 2 rows of peppers with the jalapenos in there, 2 rows of potatoes, 2 rows of carrots and onions, a row of broccoli and Brussels, a row of spinach, and the zinnias in the front again, because why not? And the goal with each of these is to trellis the beans, trellis the tomatoes, protect the peppers and tomatoes as much as possible, and then go in patch style with as much as possible. So before, I would intentionally leave row spacing between to get a tiller through or a hoe or something like that. I'm going to go more patch style this year, so it'll be a carrot patch section instead of one long row of carrots, and it will be an onion patch section to try to get a little more bang for our buck there. Same thing with the spinach, broccoli, and Brussels. Those are gonna be more patch style. We'll see how that works in actual practice. We will be doing that before you know it, but right now it is time to start some of those seedlings indoors in the greenhouse. Particularly broccoli and Brussels sprouts are coming soon. Probably next week I will start those, and I will start filming all of that if you are interested. So thank you for joining me for another part of setting up our homestead, learning to garden, learning to care for animals, and learning how to live a little more free, a little more off the land. If you enjoy this type of content, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you again really soon. Have a great day. Bye.